Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Marketing Cloud Sessions webinar. Today, you'll be part of a great conversation with Jackson Hole Mountain Resort as they tell us about their successes with SMS marketing. As you may have heard, the 2021 winter season was a breakout year for SMS marketing. It's proving to be another great marketing channel by allowing resorts to connect with guests in a timely and relevant manner. My name is Melissa Jordan. I'm here with Kurt Kinscherf from Inntopia and Nate Berenson from Jackson Hole Mountain Resort. Nate is going to share how they've leveraged Mobiniti's SMS platform and what has been working well for them. If you have any questions for Kurt or Nate, please enter them into the question pane. If you'd like to speak, we can also take you off mute. Just let us know by raising your hand. I'll let you know that we love this topic here at Inntopia, and I know Kurt especially does. So I'm going to let him take it away.
Great, thanks, Melissa. Hi, everybody. This is the continuing Marketing Cloud sessions. For those of you who haven't joined us yet, we like to bring in some of our partners to introduce a specific topic, in a little bit more of a casual conversation, right? See things from the trenches and how they're working with a particular item. So in this week, we're going to talk about SMS, as Melissa mentioned, and Jackson Hole's been doing a great job. So we're going to start off with a little background as it relates to Inntopia Mobiniti. So about a year ago now, we brought Mobiniti on board. We went into the marketplace to find a good solution for mobile marketing, SMS, MMS, and evaluated a variety of different platforms and tool sets, but we really wanted to be able to offer something low cost, really easy to implement, quick to market, and Mobiniti rose to the top of the available solutions that were out there. So for anybody that's not familiar, this is something you could get set up rather quickly with your team. Just reach out to your account manager and we'll get it set up. It's very affordable pricing. Low upfront commitment, and yeah, it's been great so far. And if you want a demo at the end of this, you could hit me up on email and we'll get that set up if you're not using it. But it's been really interesting to watch our partners and how they're going to use this. Obviously SMS marketing is a little bit different than email, so we're going to talk about a few of those different items and show some successes and some of the challenges. And that's why we have Nate here today. So Nate, welcome to the call. Yeah, and just before we jump in, a little more background. Mobiniti does allow what you're typically used to for SMS campaigns. I'm sure you've all seen them at this point, but there's also some really interesting functionality as far as being able to run mobile contests, mobile coupons, loyalty programs, things like that. And we do integrate this with List Builder. So just like you're able to push queries over to Acoustic or the email platform, we're also able to do the same thing, push any sort of query over to Mobiniti. So just keep that in mind as we talk about all these things today. So one of the things, first thing I'm going to talk to Nate about is one of the biggest challenges with SMS is it is a bit more of a, I would say, stricter compliance landscape in comparison to email signups, right? With canned spam and email, you're allowed to add somebody to your database based on a transaction, as long as you're allowing the opportunity to opt out. With SMS, it requires a little bit more explicit opt-in, right? So you actually have to, get what in the email world we would consider an explicit opt-in. And most people that we're talking with for the first time, SMS platform and executions, they're starting from 0 subscribers. So one of the biggest challenges for everyone in this space is how do we grow that database? And so Jackson had some really interesting implementations of trying to build up that database. So why don't we talk a little bit about that? I know one of the programs you did, Nate, was the Grand Bypass giveaway, trying to get people sign up. So maybe you could just talk through your process there, and we could talk about more broadly how you guys sought to try and build out that database from scratch.
For sure. Thanks for having me, Kurt. Really appreciate it. Yeah, so definitely was a challenge setting out, trying to build this list, this customer base from scratch. This was a new challenge for me, and I've been part of text campaigns in the past, but always as a recipient and not someone building it.
Sure.
So during the springtime, we have a season pass sale that typically runs from around the end of March, early April until the end of May. And during that time, pass holders or anyone interested in buying a pass at Jackson Hole can get the best deal of the season during that sale. And typically we see a lot of sales volume during that sale as well. So knowing that, I figured it would be a good idea to set up a text contest and incentivize people to sign up. And by doing so, they'd be entered to win a grand bypass, which is um, basically our full grand pass minus a few blackout dates around holidays during the wintertime.
Sure.
So a huge benefit, and one that we definitely saw results for. Looking back, I believe we had close to 1,000 people sign up during that time frame, from late March to early May, maybe plus or minus 100 people there. And the screenshot that you have up here, we put a widget on our season pass page. So essentially anyone pulling up the season pass page and perusing all of our products would see this widget. It was kind of like a little sticker in the top left-hand corner. They could click that, and then it would auto scroll them down lower in that page, and then people would be able to enter their mobile number and their name and email and sign up and get entered to win. And seems like everyone that participated was super interested, just based on the amount of volume that we got in terms of signups.
For sure. And so in this case, did you guys use sort of the embedded form builder functionality from Mobiniti and then just drop that little widget onto your site essentially?
Essentially, yes.
Yeah, cool. And I really like this one because it sort of serves a dual purpose, right? Because one of the things we learned last year is there's certain audiences that are better initial candidates for an SMS program more generally, and pass holders in the ski world is one of those, right? Because SMS lends itself really well to, alert type messages, things like that. So I feel like people already looking for a pass are great candidates for this because those are people who want to get those sort of alerty type messages, whether it's a powder alert, the pass is closed, whatever it may be. And we'll talk about some of those things in a little bit. But I think this is a great thing, serving up information to a very captive audience already, but also using that to build up that database size. So I think this is a great execution. Pass holders are fantastic for SMS, I feel like, because they are essentially, your most frequent visitors, and so there's a lot of opportunity to the upside there. And I think this is a good opportunity too, and we'll actually talk about this some more. Yeah, here we go. So SMS opt-ins via email too. So just another method. Maybe you could talk about how you incorporated this into, a different channel in email to try and get people to cross over. So maybe talk a little bit about that more broad strategy and how you guys went about trying to cross over some people from your, existing very large email database and trying to get them to sign up.
Definitely. So this example is pulled from our Summer Mountain Report,
Okay.
which goes out every Thursday during the summertime. And essentially, it contains some mountain updates, as you can see there, trail updates, and other relevant information for the upcoming weekend, events or things of that nature, and definitely weather. Um, so it was kind of a no-brainer to me that,
Yeah.
wouldn't it be great if on Thursdays you could get your Summer Mountain Report directly to your phone? Because we also have a web page. Like if you click on that full report button, that sends you to our website for the Summer Mountain Report.
Sure.
And I just figured, and the same information's there. So I figured it would be great to try and get people to sign up for the Summer Mountain Report via text instead, or in addition to their email if they're feeling like, maybe we're not checking email enough, or maybe it's not super top of mind, but if you get a text message on Thursday that says, the Rendezvous Mountain enduro bike race is this weekend and it's going to be 75 and sunny, like you may want to go head out to Rendezvous, head out to Teton Village and check it out.
Sure.
So that was kind of my thought process there for sure.
Yeah, for sure. You bring up a really interesting point, and I think this might be a sort of a recurring theme across these topics is, it's really interesting to see that balance between text versus SMS, right? Like when we first start having these conversations with somebody, they always ask, well, they're already getting that email, or, what kinds of messages should we be doing here? And I don't think it's an either or, right? It's a yes and type of conversation. SMS is really good because, in my mind, because it's push, right? Somebody's going to get that alert on their phone. So it's really good for urgency type messages. But in this case, it's really good just to remind somebody, people's inboxes and their email are always, overflowing. And SMS is just a good way to be able to sort of, climb to the top of that pile of all the communication they're receiving across all channels. And I really like it for that. Maybe you can speak to sort of your thoughts on that more broadly of SMS versus email.
Yeah, for sure. Would you mind saying that one more time?
Yeah, just sort of in your mind how you guys at Jackson view sort of that dichotomy between SMS versus email, and like what maybe the strengths are of SMS versus email, or sort of how they balance out in the broader landscape of overall marketing communication.
Definitely. So I think email is obviously a great way to get a lot of information in front of someone at once.
Sure.
I think for SMS, it's pretty versatile. It feels mobile because it is mobile, and I think it's a lot more direct when you want to put a piece of content in front of someone, or you want to get a mountain update out there.
Sure.
You can definitely do that with ease, and I think they're a good complement for each other. I think in addition to say that like summer mountain report, we have employee communications as well, where we have employees opting into their own group, and they receive something called first tracks every single week on Thursday as well. So not only are the employees staying informed via email, they're also staying informed via text, and we'll continue to message employees or someone in a summer mountain report group relevant information, whether that be for employees, say like employee only sale or employee only lunch or something like that.
Sure.
Or a summer mountain report where we've let them know ahead of time that you'll continue to receive marketing communications via text message as long as you're opted in, and we know that those people are interested in receiving probably like mountain updates and event updates. So we'll include those people in more communications regarding similar topics, I would
Sure.
say. So I feel like they're a good complement for each other. It'd be great if we could accomplish everything that we accomplish with email with SMS because of just higher open rates and higher click-through rates.
Yeah.
But I think we're trying to find the line of how far can we push text while it still remains super easy and doesn't feel like cumbersome, I guess you could say.
You made a couple interesting points there that maybe we could just touch on a little bit. So I really like the use case of employees, right? Because anybody that's ever worked at a resort is the number one gripe from employees is they never tell us anything, right? And even if you send out that email newsletter every week or whatever, you're faced with a crowded inbox as well as just deliverability challenges, right? So you don't really have to deal with that on the SMS side, right? There's not really an equivalent, or at least to a junk box, right? On the SMS side, most of these are getting through. Really, really high deliverability rates. How have you guys gotten any feedback from your employees on that, as far as how that's gone over with them?
Yeah, I think overwhelmingly people prefer receiving that information via text message.
Sure.
I think for a majority of our employees, like from anyone from administrative employees all the way to mechanics or lift ops, like the ease of having that information right in your pocket and not
Yeah.
having to search for it and your phone just letting you know right then and there, like, hey, you know, check out First Tracks this week. There's a bunch of relevant information and important updates that you need to get acquainted with.
For
I think
sure.
that's definitely um, held in high favor by our employees for sure.
Cool. And one sort of, housekeeping type thing. Does your like HR department do that, or is it still sort of like the purview of marketing?
No, so I'm still sending out those
Okay.
text messages every week.
Yeah.
Um, that's pretty much all me.
Okay. The only reason why I asked is I'm flashing back to my days in Telluride and um, remember having to send out like the HR department's email newsletter with like, purple wingding fonts and everything. And just having a bit of a nightmare flashback. But what I was going to say is, some of our partners have actually, given permission to some of the other departments because, and maybe you could attest to this, actually sending an SMS message is super simple, right? You don't have to deal with HTML templates and all this other stuff. It's basically just text. And I think that speaks really well to that ease of use component that you were talking about and being able to do something super timely. Like you could get a message out the door in 30 seconds. And now even the best templated email program is going to take, fairly significantly longer than that to get out. So it really speaks well to the resort updates, which I'm showing now. And maybe we could speak a little bit to that as far as I know you guys are sending out like um, sort of, the more traditional, like less than 100 days to winter type thing here and a welcome letter from the president. But what sort of alerts, beyond maybe what we might traditionally think, like, snow alerts, powder alerts, things like that. What sort of, super timely messages were you using SMS for last year?
I think so. We have one of the challenges is to identify like the lanes that we want SMS to be in versus our app.
Sure.
And so typically we push, say like a lift blows down or something like that due to high wind. Um, we'll typically push that out via the app.
Mhm.
And just because that notification will show up, and most of our guests do have the app
Mhm.
already, so we can already message them, and that's great. Um, there is some concern about like double dipping, overdoing it a little bit between, two forms of communication, just saying that, say thunder is on hold because of high wind or something like that.
Yeah.
But I would say more so um, planning ahead messages. Winter weather advisory, like plan ahead for tomorrow. Road closures if something, if the main road from Teton Village back to Jackson is closed due to an accident or something like that,
Sure.
and
Yep.
towards the end of the day when people are trying to get out of Teton Village, and there's really only one way in and one way out, so definitely relevant to blast that out as wide as possible.
Yeah.
And I'll say too, like it's it's a great tool for getting press releases out. So you see that one
Good
there,
point.
like less
Yeah.
than 100 days till winter. Um, those are awesome ways to inform people right away. Like, hey, we just have an update on our winter operations, and especially last year where there was so many moving pieces, and it
Yeah.
was a big challenge to get ready for the season with the best health and safety protocols that we could put forward.
For sure.
Um, it was such a great tool to be able to know like most of the people that we're sending this to, like a vast majority, are going to open this and read it and get this information in front of them. And we also have the benefit of being a small town, so word travels fast and
Too fast.
sometimes too fast. And so hopefully that word got around.
Cool.
But yeah.
Yeah, and you bring up a really good point here for anybody that's listening. I feel like stressing that balance is very important, because as much as we like to say, this is a really easy to use platform, you can get messages out quickly. You guys rightly so identified, like, how do we balance this between our app users, which is very similar sort of push functionality, right? You don't want to be the people pestering everyone, right? So finding that balance is a part of that initial process. And in fact, I mean, we were all used to, I'm sure, during political season last year, just getting spam to no end on SMS, and it actually created a bit of a crackdown by the actual mobile providers, and so Mobiniti does a really good job of staying on top of that stuff to make sure that we're staying in compliance and all those other things, because the last thing we want to happen to SMS is it becomes like what email was 5-10 years ago, where it was just the Wild West. So I think you made a really good point there about making sure you're balancing the broader sort of wide net of communications and really evaluating, is this the best fit, is this the best platform? So just because you can doesn't mean you should all the time. So I think that was a great point. Let's talk about this program. I know this was a really cool one that went over really well. It was brand engagement, driving an event. So why don't you talk a little bit about Kings and Queens and what you guys did with that?
For sure. So we had a couple amazing events last winter. One of the first one being Natural Selection, which I'm not sure if you watched it on Red Bull TV, but it was a live event.
Yeah.
And I mean, it was absolutely mind blowing what these professional snowboarding men and women were doing out there, and loved the whole theme of the competition as well. So for Natural Selection, we wanted to make sure that people were aware when the finals are going down, and where to watch, how to watch. And that was a super easy way for us to get people on Red Bull's website and get them watching it. For Kings and Queens this year, it wasn't a live broadcast. It was cut together, but nonetheless, like when we went live with the release of Kings and Queens,
Blew up.
yeah, it blew up, and per usual, I mean, it's an amazing competition. But yeah, I mean, their SMS was a great way to know that anyone that we're sending this to, like I said, like 95% of people are going to open this, and it's right in their pocket. It's like, drop what you're doing right now, click this link, go watch some amazing athletes do what they do best out on the slopes. And I think we saw some really great results from that as well.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's another thing of it being timely, and push being, it's getting someone's attention immediately, right? So you see those big spikes on engagement and immediate gratification, sort of. Sure, bosses across ski towns in the West were a little upset when everybody's looking down at their phones because you just texted them, but
Yeah, for sure.
not your problem.
Yeah,
So
it's a great tool too for like any sort of event, right? That has a set start time or something that's going live, or even like registering for events. We have a banked slalom event called Dick Ditch, and it's a super fun event. Everyone comes out and cheers people on along the sides of the race course, and so blasting that out to the community and letting people know when the first round's going down, when the second round's going down, or the different heats. That was another great way to use that.
Yeah, I think that's a great segue as far as the concept of timeliness and urgency as it relates to season passes. This is, it's season pass season right now, deadlines. Maybe you could, just speak to some of that, how you guys doing that?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, you kind of touched on it right there, is letting people know when deadlines are coming up, and feeling secure that everyone that's receiving that message is pretty much going to see that and be informed. Like that's our main goal, is providing the best experience to our guests, and that means letting them know in a timely manner when things are going down, and the best time to purchase a season pass, or when they won't be able to purchase one anymore, something like that. So I think keeping that theme in mind, just, being courteous to the guests and thinking of them when we are sending these messages is super important. And you don't want someone to feel like they weren't in the know when it's so easy to get them in the know with Mobiniti.
And I think season pass holders are notorious for that around deadlines, right? Especially with the email, right? Because they're always like, well, I didn't get your email. They're the most vocal audience. And I think making a concerted effort through a variety of different means to really focus on season pass holders and making sure you get mobile numbers for those guys is just such a no-brainer, right? Because that is your most vocal audience every year. And they're always, coming in out of the woodwork after deadline trying to get their discounted price. And I think this is just another channel to be able to say, hey, we emailed you, we texted you, we hit you up on our mobile app. Like, come on, guys, you knew about this. So exactly. I think it's a great topic there. So why don't we, just more broadly, what are your thoughts overall on how the program went and just, feelings about SMS moving forward and how you guys see it working out for you guys in the future?
Definitely. So I'd love to keep running contests. I think that's an awesome way to drive engagement. People always love free stuff. So sure. Definitely continuing with that. And I would say, continuing to build upon our mountain updates. Running contests every month would be a great goal to have if we can execute that, or at least a few times during this winter. I would say probably trying to find the right line with mountain updates versus what we're pushing on the app, continuing sure. to play around with what the best mode of communication is there. And I think overall, maybe just stressing to people that this is a great way to just be informed quickly, easily. It's right in your pocket. And it there's no pressure. Sometimes I feel with unsubscribing from emails, it can be a process, right?
Yeah, that's a good point.
You can you click on something and then you get hit with 5 different questions, or it's a misleading unsubscribe link. I hate those. So with these, super easy, you can just text stop and then you're done. And I think people don't feel as locked in. And so stressing that freedom there in terms of communications with our guests will be definitely a win. I mean, one thing that we do in our pre-arrival emails is let people know that we have this text message program, and that by signing up, they can receive mountain updates, or they can be eligible for a contest that we're currently running, or if we have an event going along. We have a goal to launch exclusive content to our SMS subscribers before the general public gets to see it. And so we're hoping that's an incentive there, because we have such amazing content. It's definitely a huge plus if a few hours before or a day before we drop it to the general public on our social channels and via email. These subscribers, these lucky subscribers are getting the first-hand look at it. So
for sure.
But yeah, I think that kind of touches on everything that we're striving for right now. And obviously, the main goal, just keep building the database and just keep going from there and learn from our mistakes, learn what's working and what's not working, and always trying to improve.
Yeah, that's I think those are all great points, right? This is a learning process for all of us, just having a new channel to quote unquote play with, finding that appropriate balance, and learning what resonates here. I love the point though that you kind of mentioned. It was sort of stress-free, right? I think that works on both ends. I feel like it's infinitely more easier to launch a message in SMS just because there's no HTML to deal with, and so when you're planning, it just feels a little less stressful than than, you know, dealing with templates and lists and all that other stuff. And then also from the user side, that's a great point as well. Like, it's really easy to opt in and out of mobile, you know, like, yeah, it's fantastic for that. And one thing I'll mention for the broader group too, that sort of dovetails here nicely is, as the conversation goes with the app, finding the balance between mobile and app, we are working on some integrations with app providers. And so in the future, we'd actually be able to create groups of, you know, excuse me, is signed up for mobile, but is not signed up for app. And then we could potentially create some audiences there to even flesh out that overlap even better. So I know we're working with you guys on that, Jackson. And so that'll be interesting, and maybe a future MC session topic on that one. So, but I think that's all the time, excuse me, we have today. Obviously, I need to get some water here. But yeah, if anybody has any questions, feel free to hit me up on my email or your account manager. We'll be posting this on YouTube as well. We have a new YouTube channel for all these MC sessions, so you can go back and watch them on double speed. But other than that, just really want to thank you, Nate, and everybody for participating today. Any questions at all, Melissa? I'll be good to go.
No, I think you covered it all very well. So thank you, Nate, for joining us today.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, and let's all hope for some snow, huh?
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Nate.
Hopefully another deep winter.
Yeah,
Thanks,
exactly.
guys.
Have a good one. Bye.